Halifax.
Well, hello and welcome to the fabulous Friday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand, and of course, happy Taylor Swift Day to those of you who are celebrating today. Of course, the pop phenom dropping an album at midnight last night. People were staying up late and downloading them and having watch parties and doing all the stuff that Swifties do. So if you are a Taylor Swift fan, I know that you're probably pretty bleary-eyed this morning. And have lots to say about her new album. Thank you very much to Vanessa Vandenez on the other side of the glass for doing what she does each and every day, keeping this show in order. Fantastic work. Taking a look at the forecast for the weekend, we're going to have Allister Aalders in here a little bit later in the show today to give us the very latest on the forecast. But things are looking like it's going to be above seasonal again this weekend. And I know that there are many of you out there that are looking to the skies and are looking to the rainmaker, so to speak, with the wildfire situation and the situation that it is in. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's any rain in the forecast, at least until Wednesday. Again, we'll get an update on what's going on with the weather with Allister Aalders in hour number 3 of the program. The fella that normally sits in this chair, of course, that's Todd Veinotte. Had a conversation, a text conversation with Mr. Veinotte yesterday, who wanted to pass along his thanks for all the support that he's been receiving from you all out there as he goes about dealing with some medical issues. Todd is, of course, watching the World Series lineup here, the Major League Baseball playoffs, and haven't talked to him this morning. But we did chat yesterday, and I know he was pretty excited about the Yankees' prospects of advancing in the American League Division Series, and that did happen last night. To the surprise of some, I think, with a relatively young pitcher on the mound who had an outstanding game for the Yankees. So they advance to the ALDS against the Toronto Blue Jays. The schedule, at least the first part of the schedule, has now been solidified, and Game 1 of the Blue Jays-Yankees series will go tomorrow at 5 p.m., and you'll be able to catch all that action right here on 95.7 News Radio. And then Game 2 on Sunday will also go at 5. But there's going to be a little bit of an interesting switch happening here on the radio station. I highlighted it a little bit yesterday, and in case you missed it, we, of course, are the home of the Toronto Blue Jays, all we have been all season. And we're the voice of the Halifax Mooseheads, who are playing on Sunday, and I think that game starts at 3 o'clock. So here's what we're going to do, right? We're going to start the hockey game on the radio and on our internet stream, and then when the Blue Jays contest begins, we're going to move the hockey game exclusively to our web stream in order to be able to bring you all of the Blue Jays game. As you may or may not know, we are unable to stream over the internet a Major League Baseball game. That's not by our decision, of course. That's by rule of Major League Baseball. So what's going to happen is the Mooseheads game will start on Sunday at 3 right here on the radio station, 95.7. And then when the Blue Jays game starts, it will take over the airwaves. We'll move the hockey game to the stream so that you can listen to both if you are so inclined. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun series against the Yankees. Speaking of those Halifax Mooseheads, they won last night, and it was a rare Thursday night appearance at Scotiabank Centre. And the Mooseheads, as I mentioned yesterday, do a lot of really fun things down at the rink. And last night was student night, and if you caught the broadcast or you were there, you heard it was a pretty lively crowd. It was coming in through the microphones as Gareth was making the call here on the radio station last night, and you could tell everybody was kind of having a good time. And it didn't hurt that they won, right? So, but to see 6,200 fans at a Thursday night game in Halifax is outstanding. And if you were listening to the broadcast, you heard this. But Gareth does a feature with Meet the Mooseheads feature that he does in the second intermissions, and the Moosehead player he was talking to last night was talking about that, and then they were talking about in the post game as well how just really awe-inspiring it is for a young hockey player that is just making his mark in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League to skate out of that tunnel and skate through the Moosehead and onto the ice and to be in front of that kind of crowd and an engaged crowd. We've all been in buildings before where there's lots of people there, but they're doing their knitting or their whatever else they're doing at the hockey game. That doesn't happen here at Scotiabank Centre. They do a fantastic job from start to finish down there, and the Moosehead players I know appreciate it, and I know the fans do too. So the Mooseheads are on the road on Sunday. They're traveling to Moncton to face the defending champion Moncton Wildcats. But then they come back. I think they got 5 more games, home games here. They're on a season-opening homestand to make room for in the schedule for the World Curling Trials or the Olympic Curling Trials that are happening down at Scotiabank. So we'll see them for a bunch here at the beginning of the season. Then I imagine they'll have to make that all good and go on a long road trip. So if you haven't been, I know I say this a lot, but if you haven't been or you haven't taken the kids or the grandkids down to Scotiabank to see a game, you really should look at it because it's a really wonderful experience when you're down there. Well, it all looks like all the indicators are looking like it's going to be an end of the legislative session today down at Province House. 8 days. Just think about that for a second. 8 days that MLAs have been at work on the floor of the legislature, passing bills and doing the work of the House. Now, we don't know for sure, but I do know that there's a news conference called for 11 o'clock today by the Premier and in the Red Chamber, so that could be the indication that this is the end. The opposition parties say that it's coming to an end today. It's and we talked about this yesterday. It's a bit disappointing to me to see the public face of the government, the work of the people in the people's house being limited to like 8 days. This is one of the shortest, if not the shortest session, I think, outside of these emergency sessions that they have. And in order to facilitate this, passing or introducing massive omnibus bills with 6 and 7 and 8 unrelated items all in one bill so that they can limit debate and get these things through the House. It just it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel very democratic to me. Might be something you want to talk about when we open up the telephone lines after 11 o'clock today for our Friday free-for-all meltdown. Should we have some legislation that mandates that you have to be in the House for X amount of days during a session, and you have to have X amount of sessions a year, that kind of thing. I'm looking forward to your comments on that. And did you hear the story this morning or yesterday when it broke that the government has now introduced legislation? In fact, they pushed it right through all 3 readings yesterday to ensure that members of the military can wear their uniforms in public spaces. This, of course, was born after controversy last year around Remembrance Day, where a local elementary school banned military members from wearing their uniforms out of fear that signs of war would upset the children. Now, that decision was very quickly reversed, and the military members were allowed to wear their uniforms. I guess my point on this, and you all know that I come from a military background, is we're to a point now where we have to pass legislation to do this, right? I don't know if this is a product of our time, but we shouldn't have to pass legislation to do this. We shouldn't have to have rules on the book to allow military people to wear their uniforms at special events in public spaces, in provincially regulated public spaces. You can do it in public, right? But this is to enshrine into law that you can do this. I'm curious as to what your thoughts on that is as well. We'll be exploring all of that when we reconvene the Friday free-for-all. That's all coming up right here at 11 o'clock today. We're going to take our first break early today because we have a very special guest that's in the wings waiting to come on to talk about the upcoming Thanksgiving long weekend and, of course, the Canada Post strike and the impact that it's having on charities. We're going to welcome the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Souls Harbor Rescue Mission, that's Michelle Porter, into the studio. when we come back. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. Happy Friday. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back. This is the Todd Veinotte Show. It's the fabulous Friday edition of the program. And our next guest, I was bringing her into the studio, and she says, Dan, you made me sound like a superstar when you did that introduction before the break. But I think there are many people out there that will agree with me that the Chief Executive Officer and the co-founder of Souls Harbor, that's Michelle Porter, is a superstar for all the hard work that you do in the community.
Okay, well, it's me and a team of 150, so yes, I will share that.
Fair enough. Michelle is here because we know that that Thanksgiving is the beginning of the busy season, if we can call it a busy season, for the work that they do down there at Souls Harbor. Michelle, maybe we should set the table a little bit and tell people what exactly the mission is for Souls Harbor.
Well, Souls Harbor has multiple facets. One of them, and the main thing that we're known for, is our meal services, and we're in multiple locations across the province. We also do recovery. We have 2 recovery programs, one in the city, one in the country for men, and we're opening one for women very soon. And then, of course, we have our women's campus where we house women and children in an affordable seaside lifestyle. And we have forward houses, which are like transitional houses for people who aren't quite ready to live on their own. So they're a little bit, they're shared, and they're not, I wouldn't say supervised, but there's people there to help them with supports. And
we know that that Souls Harbor is a charity and relies fairly heavily on the kindness of people out there and donations. Mm-hmm. And with Canada Post now being on strike, that's a bit of a concern for your organization.
Yeah, for our organization, because we do so much around the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, a large portion of our income comes through the mail, October, November, December, like $1 million or more. So it's pretty significant with the mail strike going on right now.
Right. So if people that are regular donors, or maybe some new ones out there, that want to help and normally do this through the mail, is there an alternative way that they can donate to the organization?
We are opening up as many avenues as we can. We have e-transfer, we have online giving, we will take donations on the phone, and then of course there's drop-offs at all of our locations, as well as Mission Mart, which is open 7 days a week from 9 to 9.
So Souls Harbor, my first experience with Souls Harbor is Thanksgiving and the dinners. That's still going ahead, correct?
That is still going ahead. In fact, with the expansion of locations, I think we're going to be serving at least 1,200 Thanksgiving dinners this year. So
you have how many locations? Because you're growing.
I had to bring it on a piece of paper. So Halifax, Dartmouth, Lower Sackville, Glenhaven, Bridgewater, the Eastern Shore, Truro, Amherst, Sydney Mines, New Waterford, and soon to be Point Edward and Yarmouth, and then a second location in Dartmouth.
So and those are coming soon?
Very soon, within weeks.
Within weeks. So by Christmas time, we'll see 2 new locations.
Absolutely.
Plus, you also do a mobile outreach.
Yeah, we can't forget the Souls Mobile. People love it. We go into the encampments. We do wellness checks. If you see someone you're concerned about, you just call the number and punch in the extension 555, and we will help take a look. Now,
we've seen the Souls Mobile before. We saw the ambulance, but I understand that the ambulance is no longer with us.
The ambulance bit the dust. You know, when you get a retired ambulance, they have many, many miles on them. So we used it well for a year, but it is not fixable any longer, so we're looking to get our next ambulance.
So you're currently in the market for a new ambulance, new old ambulance.
Yes, we are, definitely.
Tell me about demand, Michelle. We know we've all read the stories. We all see what's going on in the community. What's demand like in HRM and surrounding area for people that would use your services?
Well, for sure, Halifax is our largest area of need. It's our largest mission. We think that the drop-in center that we open in Dartmouth will rival that. So, you know, to say what are the needs in HRM? Well, when we're serving up to 200 people a day in Halifax, a meal, 80 people a day are coming to our free mart to get clothing, toiletry, just basic needs that can help reduce the budget. We're getting newcomers, we're getting oldcomers, and everyone in between.
So it's safe to say that in the last couple of years, you've seen a pretty significant increase in people using your facilities?
We've definitely seen an uptick. We have waiting lists for our recovery programs for men who are wanting to come out of certain lifestyle, whether that be addiction or wanting to get a grasp on their mental health issues. We just help them through that. People coming out of jail that don't want to go back to that lifestyle, we open a room for them as well.
And those spaces are limited.
Those spaces are very limited. We have 6 in the farm program. We could have 8, but we don't have a vehicle large enough to transport them. And then we have 9 in Halifax in the city program.
And that's all obviously free of charge to the people using it, right?
Everything is 100% free. Like, we advertise the meals as $4.58. That's so a donor has a grasp of what it might approximately cost us.
Right.
But it is, every one of our services is free.
Now, those Thanksgiving dinners, do you buy all that stuff? Is it donated? How does all that work?
It's a mix. We need donations, and we also need the money to pay the cooks to cook it up.
And those are all your locations you're doing those this year?
Yep, every location.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice when you have, say, Thanksgiving dinner at the women's home, because there's 2 buildings on the campus, so all of them get together with all the kids, and it's really beautiful.
Tell me about Mission Mart. And many people don't even know that it's there, which is a shame. I donate to it. But tell me a little bit about it and where it is and what its purpose is.
So Mission Mart is our social enterprise. It is a very large 17,000 square foot thrift store. And we are at, in the Bears Lake Business Park.
Yep.
We take donations, as you know, of used items, gently used, and then we resell them. And all of that goes to pay for, except for Mission Mart itself, all of our properties are debt free.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And that's thanks to Mission Mart.
Wow, holy smokes. So people do know where it is and they're using it.
They are using it. We get several hundred a day, but we still are in that back pocket of Susie Lake Crescent that not everyone has explored yet.
Right. And of course, with the fire there earlier, it was kind of a bit scary at times.
It was scary. We did have to close for a bit in August,
right.
But we did okay.
So, Michelle, I guess with the mail strike, back to the mail strike, this is, and I think I said this earlier, it's probably the worst time of the year to do this. Any concern that you won't be able to do any of this programming because of the loss of revenue through the mail?
No, because like last year, I think people are just going to step up. And I know my team, we call them the fundies because they put the fun in fundraising. They are going to, we'll work around the clock. We'll do what we have to do. Even on the other side of it, we have bills to pay. We're hand delivering them so that everyone gets their share as well.
You must have an army of volunteers.
We do have an army of volunteers. We have over 2,000 active volunteers.
Holy smokes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And all pulling towards the same goal, which isn't easy in 2025.
That's right. It isn't easy, and we've got a great team, both staff and volunteers. They work together. They love the cause, and it just shows.
Now, we know we've talked about the Thanksgiving dinners. We know that Christmas is the giving season, and whenever I have charities in, I always ask them about what happens after Christmas, because everybody gets in that kind of giving mode in Christmas, but fundraising has to happen 12 months a year, right? Yeah.
So our programs are 365 days a year. Particularly in Halifax, some of the smaller locations, we just don't have the staff, so they do close on the weekends, but the show must go on.
Right. They use the showbiz term,
That's right.
Michelle, do you get, is it all fundraising, or is it all donation, or do you get some assistance from the government? How does that work?
So it is mostly donations. We have just started, we're doing the emergency shelters that are temporary as a contract with the city. So those we don't have to raise funds for. They're set, but they're also temporary, as I said.
And there's a lot of locations and a lot of moving parts, right? There
are a lot of locations. I mean, we didn't even cover the shelters, but there's one in Truro for men, or for co-ed, and one in Halifax, which is men's.
And those are shelter for people experiencing homelessness? Is that
yeah, they are. And they're also, like, for the Halifax location, we're open all day. So they don't have to wander around looking for a warm shelter. They're there. Our staff interact. We play games, all that.
Which is, again, where I was going next, is that winter season is coming upon us, right? And that's the cold months of the year, which obviously creates its own problems. It creates so many problems for those that are still living in the encampments. Last year we had all those reports of tents catching on fire because people were cold and they were lighting candles. And so we're definitely happy to be part of that solution. And those are 24 hours a day that they're open? The shelter? Yes. Yes, it is. The Halifax shelter. Truro, because we're using a space that's
owned by a church, we have to close during the day.
So, Michelle, again, going back to the donations, I know people out there are probably wondering how they can help. What's the best way that they can help given the situation with the postal strike and so on? Well,
if you want to give a cash donation or a check, you can phone. Well, you're not going to give cash or a check on the phone, but credit card, obviously.
Right.
If you want to give money, you can go to Mission Mart, drop it off at the tills. You can come to Halifax location on Kennard. It's open 24 hours a day. Or you can bring something to your local drop-in center as well. We need gifts in kind. We need gifts for people to make the holiday special. We need bus tickets all the time. And then, of course, just turkey and fixings.
Right. Is there a list of items that you need more than others?
Well, it's always going to be turkey because it's the most expensive piece for us to buy.
Right. And then the rest of the dinner fixings?
Yeah, exactly.
How about hands? Do you have enough hands to do all of this stuff?
No, we're always looking for more volunteers because, like anything, there's attrition. We have snowbirds that we're expecting to be leaving fairly soon, so that'll put a little hole in our supply of volunteers.
What can a volunteer expect to do? Do they receive training, or how does that work?
So volunteers help set up, serve the meals, clean up, and then, of course, Mission Mart has hundreds and hundreds of volunteers there.
And that's not just for the dinner. You can volunteer.
Oh, exactly.
Time, right?
Just like the dinner, yes, we do. We ramp it up. We're prepared for double at each location, but every single day we're looking for men and women who just want to come and serve and spend some time at Souls Harbor.
So again, the closest one is the Thanksgiving dinner. What day are you going to do that dinner?
It's the Monday. Is that the 13th?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the day in Halifax, and I cannot even tell you if that's the right date in all the little locations.
But it's going to be somewhere closer to
But everyone's doing it the same day, but
Right.
sometimes Halifax is a little bit different because we're 24 hours.
Right. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of make amends for that.
Yeah, and we have to plan around the men that actually live in the building and want to make sure they have their own special occasion as well.
Okay, so that's just to recap, if somebody wants to give you a helping hand, what's the best way to do that?
The best way, honestly, just give us a call or email. You can 902-405-4663. That spells home, 405-HOME. Or you can email us at hello@shrm.ca. That's Souls Harbor Rescue Mission.
Michelle, Mission Mart, are there items there that you're in need of, or is it just whatever you can spare that's gently used, as you said?
Yeah, Mission Mart is all women's clothes are the biggest seller,
Right.
but we also get a lot of them in. What we don't get in are men's clothing because you guys wear your clothes till they are threadbare.
So those gently worn jeans, those shirts and stuff that are in the closet that you're not wearing anymore probably can go to a better cause.
Absolutely. Don't wait till you lose the weight. Just bring them in, and then when you lose the weight, you can reward yourself.
There you go. Absolutely. And of course, you've done it a couple times, but I think it's really important to get the message out. And if you're able to support the mission with a cash donation, there's several ways you can do that.
Definitely. You can e-transfer to donate@shrm.ca. Just give us a call, 405-HOME, 405-4663.
And if you have an old ambulance in the backyard that you don't want to use, I'm sure Michelle will take it.
Right. Or a 15-passenger van.
15-passenger van or an ambulance. Get a hold of Souls Harbor.
Oh, my.
Michelle, as always, a pleasure. You do fantastic work. Your team is awesome, and the city is better off because you're here and doing what you're doing.
Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. That's Michelle Porter, the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Souls Harbor. Did you see how busy she is? Holy smokes, right? And all those volunteers that do all that work for nothing? It is absolutely amazing. We're going to stop. We're going to take a break. We're going to get an update on the news. And on the other side of it, it's time for our weekly chat with our good friend, Tim Powers from Summa Strategies and Abacus Data. You're listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back. This is the fabulous Friday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand, and it is tradition now to welcome our next guest in this time slot. And that, of course, is our good friend, Tim Powers from Summa Strategies and Abacus Data. Tim, how are you?
Well, I'm just looking at those Yankee highlights, so I know Todd is somewhere being happy, as am I. It's the one team we share in common, but we're in a tough place. Like, who are we going to cheer for on Saturday?
Well, that's just
the Blue Jays.
You could be
quandary.
You could be deemed unpatriotic if you don't cheer for the Blue Jays, right? Is that not Canada's team?
Yeah. You know what? I'll take either who wins. How about that? Nice, firmly on the fence. I would actually like to see the Blue Jays make a run because my son's taken to them, so I'll cheer for him for the Blue Jays.
That's a very political answer, Tim.
It is, eh? That's like a very good talking point, isn't it?
Before we delve into the goings-on in Ottawa, I don't know if you've been keeping tabs on what's going on here in Nova Scotia, but the provincial legislature is about to wrap after a whopping 8-day session. 8 days.
Yeah, I mean, all the Atlantic legislatures are special places, aren't they? They're in and out in the manner of seconds, really. Yeah, well, I don't know what to say about that, Dan. I mean, I guess it depends on what they're doing the rest of the time, and does the public feel like they're doing something? Because you just don't want them debating for the sake of debating. But yeah, it doesn't say much when they're only there for that short period of time. But allow me 30 seconds to say something about Alfie MacLeod. I met Alfie MacLeod, who passed away years ago when he was an organizer for the PC Party. He was a lovely man then. Sorry to see him gone. He wasn't that old, late 60s. I know he made a huge impact in Cape Breton and all over the province, and he was quite a character. So thinking of him, his family, and everybody he touched.
I've had a few experiences with Alfie, and there wasn't a truer Cape Bretoner than Alfie MacLeod. That is for sure.
That is true. And he would proudly wear that badge with honor.
Tim, to Ottawa now. We saw another volley, I guess, fired from the White House towards the rest of the world, and more importantly here in Canada, with another 10% on softwood lumber, another 25% on wooden furniture, and musings about 100% tariff on foreign film that comes into the United States. And every time we get a clip or a comment or something from Dominic LeBlanc, it's like, oh yeah, everything's going good. We're working towards a deal.
Yeah, all that's old is new again, including the language. I mean, Trump, you'll recall, 3-4 months was on the case of film. He was going to go after that, which is could be a concerning thing in Nova Scotia and Newfoundland and Labrador, where we have pretty thriving film industries. What I've heard today, reported by another media outlet, is apparently the Prime Minister is apparently and potentially. How's that for a double cover statement? Prime Minister could be heading to Washington next week. Not that is going to resolve these problems. He's been to Washington. He's seen Trump in Washington and elsewhere, and we still have this. The challenge it creates for the Carney government is it gets at his credibility quotient, that he was best positioned to deal with Donald Trump, and I don't think anybody's saying Poilievre could do better, but it may impact Carney more than it does Poilievre if this thing drags on and on and on and on, which it very well could.
Tim, is this fallen off Canadians' radar, or are they still engaged in this ongoing tariff battle?
I think it's fallen off a little bit, unless you're in a sector that's whacked. I mean, if you're in Hamilton, you know about steel, right? If you work for Algoma, you know about steel. If you are in a business that imports aluminum, you know about those tariffs. If you're in BC, you know about the wood, or New Brunswick, you know about the wood. But broadly, I think we've all built in the crazy factor for Trump. I mean, last week or this week, where was he? In Quantico, where the FBI headquarters is, had some mad ravings about, the American military and all of that. So I think, sadly, we're becoming more immune to whatever the particular statement of the day is by the president.
Domestically, of course, CUPW on the picket line now at the post offices in response to changes that the government proposed in some legislation. Is this going to weigh on the Carney government, do you think?
Not at all, I don't think. I mean, show me the outrage, Dan.
Right.
I think 10 years ago this would have been very different, even 5 years ago. But people have alternative delivery systems that they use every day. And no offense to the CUPW workers. I have some friends who work for the union, played rugby with the Newfoundland union leader, and it's hard for them to get an audience for this because the audience doesn't view their service as essential as it once was, and the fact that the Carney government is, going to tear up that 1994 guidance about rural post offices tells you all you need to know about what they think the political damage is going to be here.
Got a report earlier this week on foreign interference in the last election campaign, and they said small scale. I don't think many were surprised by that, were they?
And that was Todd just putting up Jets memes saying if you vote for the Jets, if you vote for this guy, you'll be a Jets fan. Look, I take that report for what it says, that whoever's in the groups that are in charge with protecting the elections seemingly did a good job. Hopefully, again, based on what that report says, nobody was elected because of whatever foreign interference was happening on a small scale. So that is good, but I wouldn't get complacent either. We see it every day, the level of sophistication that exists now in any type of campaign to get you as an individual to give somebody money or things like that. Long gone are the pleas from Nigeria, email pleas, which you could quickly discount, and now we have so much more sophisticated ways of misleading people. So governments and security agencies need to stay on top of that stuff.
Switching to Mr. Poilievre, he seems to be pushing pretty hard on his crime platform, dealing with bail and those kind of things over the last few weeks. Yeah,
I think, again, there's a sense that people are feeling more unsafe than safe in places where that was never an issue. And I think he continues to do that to show his connection to people. I don't think that's going to dissipate. I don't think we've had, an increase in people on bail committing crime in the last week, but the subject itself just resonates because when somebody does commit a crime and they're on bail and the crime is heinous, as some of them have been, it gets a ton of attention, and that's the kind of stuff opposition leaders leap on. Conservatives have always done better with the voting public on safety and security stuff, so he's failing in his wheelhouse. And, don't forget, he's still got that January leadership vote coming up, and as I say to you every time we mention Poilievre, I would still say today on October the 3rd, he's pretty safe, but I doubt he's going to take any of that for granted. So when he gets a chance to hit on and speak about a traditional conservative issue, he's going to.
Tim, taking some calls from listeners over the last little while that are concerned that Prime Minister Carney is picking up where former Prime Minister Trudeau left off and is traveling an awful lot. Do you think he's traveling too much, or is he? I
think all that stuff's, with respect to your callers, just nonsense and driven by the opposition. I mean, look, Pierre Poilievre, whenever he travels, albeit not on a government jet, it's either paid for by the Conservative Party or the taxpayers of Canada. He lives in a government-funded, taxpayer-funded home. As for the Prime Minister, if you're going to do trade deals, you're going to do arrangements with different countries. You got to go to some of these places. I think the challenge, though, for the Prime Minister, he's got to start showing that these trips are producing dividends. And as great as a trade deal with Indonesia may be, which is one he signed last week, that's not going to get the headlines like a European deal where people see some immediate benefit. And I'm particularly not going to criticize him for traveling last week because I was delighted to see that he and his wife went to the World Cup rugby final where Canada was playing England, and they should be there. And those sorts of global sporting events are great showcases for the country. So not going to wrap his knuckles hypocritically for that.
We talked to John Gillis about this earlier in the week, Tim, and I know you're a big proponent of rugby. How important do you think that World Cup final is to growing the sport in Canada?
It's rare for me to say this, but whatever Dr. John said, no. John's a buddy. He's an awesome guy. Love him. It was huge, and it wasn't just for rugby. It was for sport in general. I mean, Dan, rarely, other than the Canadian women's soccer team that got to an Olympic final, I think in 21, when the Tokyo Games were rescheduled, Canada, be they male or female, rarely play in a team sport final on grass. On ice, yes. On the courts sometimes. I mean, this was huge. And that group of athletes, as I'm sure John said, are just wonderful, wonderful people and great role models for male, female athletes alike. And the fact that many of them have just given up, years of their lives to do this for not much compensation, but the pride of representing their country is, harkens back to another era. So well done, team.
And John mentioned that they crowdsourced their way there, and I think that with the Prime Minister in the stands, hopefully they'll see some legit funding moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, there was $2.8 million in government funding, but John's right. There was an additional $1 million raised, and that additional $1 million through crowdfunding, which, to John's credit, he was very instrumental in being involved with, did help them get some special preparation. And that total budget, just under $4 million, is peanuts compared to the English budget, which makes it all the more extraordinary. And I'm with John. I hope. I don't think it'll be this budget, but I hope we see some, you want to invest smart, invest in sport and wellness. It'll pay dividends, be it rugby, soccer, hockey, whatever. Ultimate, get kids out moving, keep them in sports. It's good for us all.
Tim, go Jays, go. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, buddy. Take care. Bye.
That is Tim Powers, our good friend from Summa Strategies and Abacus Data. When we come back, the session of the legislature, 8 days long, a conversation with the leader of the opposition down there at the provincial legislature. Claudia Chender will be your guest. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Aalders. We're back in minutes.
Facts.
Welcome back to the fabulous Friday edition of the program. I think a couple of visits ago with our next guest, we were talking about the upcoming session of the legislature, and I think we were kind of kidding back and forth about hoping that it would last at least as long as the last one, which I think was 10 days, and then this thing happened, and then they started, and all indications are that they're not even going to make 10 days this time, and if things wrap up today, it will be an 8-day session. Please welcome to the program, joining me on the telephone today, the leader of the NDP. That is Claudia Chender. Claudia, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. How are you, Dan?
I'm a little puzzled that we can get all of this work done, of the work of the people, the business of the House done in 8 days.
Well, we can't, and that's the sad fact. And I've spent a lot of time, and you and I have talked, canvassing this province from one end to the other, and what we hear from people is everything is too expensive. We need to figure out a way to find homes that people can afford. We need to figure out a path to home ownership for young families. We need to figure out a way to deal with Nova Scotia Power and get those costs under control. And we have talked about exactly none of that in the 8 days that we've been here. And so it's certainly disappointing for us. We have put forward solution after solution, but I think it should be disappointing for Nova Scotians and embarrassing for this government to really, I think, make a bit of a mockery of the process here and not address the things that Nova Scotians are really begging them to address.
Now, the government laid out these omnibus bills, which, for those that don't know what I'm talking about, this is legislation that has a bunch of unrelated things all packed into one sort of bill. What's your thoughts on using this kind of tactic?
It's totally unacceptable. It's American-style politics where you slip some, pretty terrible provisions in with some kind of innocuous stuff and maybe a couple of good things, and you package it all as one bill. It's actually a really just fundamentally inappropriate way to make law, but essentially it's a way to trick, members of the legislature into voting for something that's terrible. And so, in the biggest example this session, we had a bill that removed protections from renters, that criminalized dissent, and that finally instituted some security and training for bouncers, and that helped survivors of intimate partner violence remove their violent partners from a lease. None of that has anything, and dealt with the disposal of human remains. Like, none of it has anything to do with each other. And because of that, we walked out of the chamber in protest. It's an impossible choice. We're not going to vote to criminalize dissent. We're not going to vote to strip the few protections that renters have in this province when rents have gone up $4,400 a year under this government. But we're also not going to vote against provisions, the two I mentioned, bouncers and, protections for survivors of violence. Those are things we proposed and we pushed for. So it's an impossible position, and it's a terrible way of legislating.
Also, what was a little bit puzzling to me over this last session, being only 8 days long, being the biggest one, but a couple of those days, the Premier wasn't even in the House to face questions.
The Premier was not in the House to face questions. He was not in the House to vote on his legislation, including this one. He was in Ottawa. He could have postponed the sitting. But, we're hearing that last night when we were voting on this very controversial omnibus bill, or in our case, refusing to fall, prey to their tricks, the Premier was at a soccer game. What does that say about how seriously this Premier takes the issues facing Nova Scotians? It's really shameful. I can't stress enough. I mean, people are busy. They don't pay attention to what happens in the legislature. I don't blame them. I, might not if I didn't have to either. But these are decisions that impact people's lives. And this Premier couldn't be bothered to show up and vote for the few pieces of paltry legislation that he put forward. And even when he was back in town, he went to a soccer game instead. That just doesn't look like leadership to me, Dan.
Claudia, what happens next now? If this session ends on today, as it's widely expected to do, what happens next? When do we know when the next session's going to be? That kind of thing.
We have no idea when the next session is going to be because this government refuses to institute any accountability to the people of Nova Scotia around how they govern them and how they spend their money, frankly. I mean, the other news is that they posted a $1.2 billion deficit.
Right.
So I think that's another reason for the 8-day sitting. They don't want to talk about that. Because then we have to look at what happens next. We've seen the first outcome of that, which was cuts to the heating assistance rebate program. Mm-hmm. So 46,000 Nova Scotians who were eligible for assistance last year are not eligible this year. MLA offices across the province are hearing about that, and there is surely more to come. So what happens next? Nova Scotians, have to continue to get organized and make their voices heard. They're doing a great job of that, and I know they'll continue to. We will continue to amplify those voices to push for the things that the government should be in this House doing, and working on behalf of Nova Scotians as we do every day. Premier
sat across from me a couple of weeks ago, and we asked him about Nova Scotia Power and that increase that's coming, and he said he wasn't very happy about the whole thing and was going to look at it. And then we asked him about the water rate increase, and he said pretty much the same thing, but I didn't see a whole lot of discussion about that in this session.
No. Our first bill that we introduced this session was a bill to protect Nova Scotians from future breaches like we experienced at Nova Scotia Power. We saw, there was a tiny provision in the omnibus bill saying that companies can't collect social insurance numbers if they don't need them, but that actually doesn't address anything that happened with Nova Scotia Power because it doesn't cause them to get rid of those sins, literally. And it also, is a bit rich for the Premier of the province to say he's upset. We've heard that lots. He's upset. He's angry. He's disappointed. That's fine. That's how all of us feel. But only one of us is in the position to actually do something about it, and that's this premier. I mean, he was just in Ottawa. Was he talking to Ottawa about infrastructure money so that we could cost share some fixes to Halifax Water so that the rates don't have to go up that high? I don't think so. Is he introducing comprehensive legislation that would start to make sure that Nova Scotia Power could not raise rates in the way that they're doing and would ensure reliability for Nova Scotians? If they did, we didn't see it, and we certainly didn't vote on it. So I think Nova Scotians have a lot of questions. We certainly still have a lot of questions, and we're going to continue to push for those answers on behalf of, all of the people that we talk to every day.
Claudia, I'm sure you're more familiar with the rules of the House than I am. Is there a mechanism, or could there be a mechanism that would be put in place to ensure that we don't see these 8 and 10 day sessions, that we force the government to face the music, so to speak, on the floor of the legislature?
Yeah, well, I'm really glad you asked, Dan. When I was elected in 2017, one of the first things I asked myself was that same question. And I introduced legislation that would bring us in line with the rest of the country and have a legislative calendar. That's what Ottawa has. That's what every other legislature has. And it's not for us, it's for the public, so that the public knows when their MLAs are going to be here, so that they can come and watch and engage and provide input on bills and understand how things move through the House in a way that makes sense and is accessible for people. And I have reintroduced that legislation. I've lost count of how many times. This government's not interested, but we're committed to making this place work on behalf of the public, and we'll continue to push for that.
Claudia, busy day, I know. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That is Claudia Chender, the leader of the NDP down at Province House. The Premier's going to have some free time coming up, I guess. So maybe we can convince him to join the broadcast again and sit and answer your questions like he did just a few weeks ago. And maybe he can answer the question why we only need an 8-day session of the legislature. Might be something to work on. We're going to stop, take a break here on the program. We're going to get an update on the news. On the other side of it, we're going to throw open the telephone lines because it's time for the Friday free-for-all. There's an awful lot to talk about. You might want to talk about the short session of the legislature that we just discussed. You might want to talk about the Canada Post strike and just a little preview. I have a special announcement coming up right after the news at 11, so make sure you don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes.
Halifax.
All right, welcome back to the fabulous Friday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. The telephone lines are now open, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. This is the Friday Free-for-All, your chance to talk about whatever it is that's on your mind, something that we talked about earlier in the week, something that we didn't talk about in the earlier in the week that you want to bring to our attention. It's a good opportunity to get some stuff off your chest as we head into a weekend, which looks fabulous, by the way. And you'll feel better about doing the whole thing. A couple of items that kind of caught my attention over the last 24 hours or so was some of the action down at the provincial legislature. You just heard from Claudia Chender, who I don't want to put words into her mouth, but didn't seem very pleased that this session of the legislature likely about to end after just 8 days of work at the legislature. Going to be wrapping up today. And those omnibus bills, I think she laid it out pretty clearly about the problem with them. And what I'm referring to, of course, is when a government puts a whole bunch of things into one big bill that are unrelated to one another. So that if you vote against something, it makes you look like you're voting against something that makes sense, right? The government will say it's an efficient way to do business, is to get things done and put these things all together. I think it limits debate. I think it is designed to put the opposition in a difficult situation. Now, we know that the Tim Houston government has a supermajority. They can do pretty much what they want. But there are some rules, I think, that need to be followed. And by doing this, I don't think this is what putting these omnibus bills together is what the people that designed this whole thing, it's out of the spirit of the rules, I'll say. That might be something you want to talk about. Also, did you see one of the bills that was introduced yesterday? In fact, it made it all the way through the House through 3 readings. The provincial government enshrining now into law, having to enshrine into law the ability for members of the military to wear their uniforms in public places. This was born after a controversy last Remembrance Day when an elementary school in Sackville said that they would not permit military members from wearing their uniforms out of fears that it may upset the children. That, of course, decision was changed very quickly, and it was permitted later on. So the provincial government having to act now to ensure that military members can wear their uniforms. I can't believe it's gotten to this, that we have to actually have a piece of legislation on the books for members of the military to wear their uniforms at a school. I'm curious as to what your thoughts on that are as well. Also, this one came from the Board of Police Commissioners earlier this week. We've been talking about transit here on this program for months and months and maybe even years. And I'm a strong advocate that if you're going to have or want to have people on a transit system, if you want people to ride the bus, A, it's got to be on time, and B, it's got to be safe, right? We can have the most efficient on-time delivery of transit in the planet, but if people don't feel safe on that bus, if the drivers aren't safe on that bus, then it's never going to work. Well, the issue came up before the Board of Police Commissioners, and it doesn't look like HRP officers are going to be riding on Halifax transit buses anytime soon. I'm curious what you think about that, and if we should have police on buses. We should have maybe a transit authority on a bus. Should we have security guards on the buses, or would that be effective at all? 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. That or whatever it is on your mind. That's the beauty of the open line. Very quickly before we go to the phones, I have a bit of an announcement to make. I kind of teased it there before the news. As you may or may not know, this radio station is celebrating its 20th anniversary this month. In fact, it's happening next Friday. That's 95.7 News Radio in its various iterations. Of course, it was 95 News 95.7, and then it was City News 95.7, and now 95.7 News Radio. Has been around here in Halifax for 20 years, 2 decades that we've been doing this for you all, and we're going to celebrate that with a very special broadcast next Friday. We're going to be live on location at the Westin Nova Scotia down there in the South End next Friday from 10 until 1. We're going to line up. Vanessa's been working. Vanessa does fantastic work, right? But she's been working extra hard this last couple of days trying to line up some really special guests. I'm not going to sort of ruin the surprise, but we have a whole bunch of big guests lined up. We're going to have a big cake down there. We're going to have some coffee. We'll have some chairs for you all to sit down if you want to come and watch the show live. That's all going to happen on next Friday. So the 10th of I almost said February, 10th of October, we're going to be down there, and I hope that you can join us. So we'll keep talking about it next week so that you don't forget about it, but I just kind of wanted to let you all know that we're going to do a special broadcast next Friday from 10 till 1, live in the lobby of the Westin Hotel down there in the South End, and I hope that you can spend some time with us. Enough of me talking. Let's get to the phones. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We welcome Percy to the program. Percy, how are you?
Just fantastic.
That's good to hear.
The thing we were going to talk about was the putting 12-year-olds in the woods. I can't fathom an idiot putting a 12-year-old in the woods with a 303 in one hand and a cell phone in the other. It's unbelievable.
Well, they would be under direct supervision, Percy. Their guardian would be right beside them.
Yeah, but you know yourself, Dan, a 12-year-old is nothing. You got a kid about 5 foot tall, if he's that tall, and about 100 pounds soaking wet, and their minds are not geared to hunting. I've been doing hunting now for over 70 years, and this will be the first year that I will never buy a license to go in the woods.
Really?
Yeah, I don't trust them because they're not geared to act on an instinct at that time of the year.
Well, we've had those rules on the books for a couple of years now for small game, have we not?
That's something I don't know. I don't do small game too much.
Well, Percy, I appreciate you calling.
Okay, sir.
Have a good one. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Lines are wide open if you want to get onto the Friday free-for-all. Perfect opportunity to do so. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The open hour continues after the break. All right, welcome back. This is the fabulous Friday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. It is the Friday free-for-all, your opportunity to talk about whatever it is that is on your mind. There's an awful lot to discuss out there, and just took a call, or Vanessa took a call just during the break there, and we found out that longtime listener, longtime caller, and he's been a fixture of this program since its inception 20 years ago. Bill Mott is in the hospital today, and we're going to send all of our warm wishes and thoughts to Bill and wish him a speedy recovery, and hope to hear him on the program very soon in his energetic way. So take care, Bill. Keep up the good fight. We're all thinking about you. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Kate to the program. Kate, how are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me? It's a spotty service out here.
Loud and clear, as they say.
Sounds great. I just had a quick comment. I've
Sure.
actually had my firearms license since I was 12, and I'm now 37. And so I went through the course with my dad and my uncle. They already had it, but they wanted to go through it with me.
Nice.
And then my brothers went through it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the time it was just small game that I was able to hunt, and I was able to, I went through the course. They taught me how to safely use a firearm,
Right.
that I was allowed to hold it. But I mean, there's no 12-year-old that's hauling a deer out of the woods. So
Nope.
You're there with a parent or a guardian. My dad's name is listed. I still have the card, actually. My dad's name is listed as my guardian on my firearms license.
Yep.
And I'm not able, at 12, you're not able to purchase a
Nope.
firearm. You're
Right.
not driving around with one. So I don't really see the problem with it. I think it's great to promote hunting, especially if that's something that your family does. And I hope to do the same with my children. And I don't think that in terms of safety, it's a problem, especially if you have a guardian with you, as you should. One of the things that I was happy to hear this. I was also happy to hear about the extra week of hunting. Not as much about the Sundays. I could have done with the day of rest. It's nice to, get resupplied, and now you're going to feel like you need to be out there because everyone else is. But yeah, I think it's a positive thing that they did.
Kate, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Dan. Have a great day.
You too. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. I think I said it during the open hour, either it was Wednesday or Thursday, I don't remember, but my thoughts on the 12-year-olds going into out to hunt with a guardian is exactly what Kate said. You learn the proper way to handle a firearm. You know how to store it safely, to do all of the right things, and if we don't teach kids that want to do that at that age, then their experience with weapons and firearms is what they see on television or on their video games, and what a better way to learn that when with a family member and get out there. Some of my fondest memories with my father were in my early days out in the woods with him during the fall. So that's my favorite time of the year. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Jane to the program. Jane, how are you?
Hello?
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. I just want to make a quick comment about the bill in motion to allow military to wear their uniforms.
Right.
I applaud that. I think it's very sad that we have to have that happen, that to put that into effect. I am from a family of 4 generations of Canadian military members, and I think with the foreigners coming into our country, if they see military personnel in full uniform, they quickly learn, like, oh, golly, they're going to keep me safe. Not everything is bad. They learn. I also get my back up when we keep changing our Canadian culture and policies to accommodate those coming in. I honestly feel we accommodate them. Yes, let us accommodate them. But they're coming to our country, and they need to learn about our country, if this is where they choose to live, and work with us and work with our culture. I have adult children who have fought in Afghanistan and Iraq to help those people to find peace. So I am very annoyed with the school employee who decided that they should keep the uniform out of the school. I fully support Tim Houston's motion to allow military to wear their uniforms where they choose.
Jane, I appreciate the call.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Where do we go next? Let's go to Eddie. Eddie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Was Brian Phillips the very first talk show host?
Brian Phillips didn't work here. The very first talk show host that we had on this station was Andrew Crystal.
Andrew Crystal. Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The lineage goes Andrew Crystal and then Jordy Morgan, who you've heard a number of times. Then, of course, the legendary Rick Howe, whom the studio is named after, and then it's Todd Veinotte. So that's the lineage of the talk show host here. Brian Phillips worked across the street over there, and is a legend, an absolute legend in his own right, but not with our stations. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome David to the program. David, how are you?
Good. Good morning to you.
What's on your mind?
Just for your caller, Brian Phillips and Steve Murphy were with CJCH talk show years ago.
Yep.
Which was great and good, and it's good that you guys, your company station, picked up the slack and kept it going. As far as Claudia, I don't know about the legislature. Just seeing it on the news and hearing it from listening to your station like I do all day, which is great as an update as you're working, because I think most of us don't really pay attention, and we need to. But
you're right. You're absolutely right, David. Yep.
Oh, that's all it is. We're just busy working. We're busy doing stuff.
Life is busy, man. I get it.
Well, yeah, I'm sitting at my desk right now and listening to you on the computer, and I just, it's just busy. But, I just want to say one thing about her is I think she's lucky she has a say, because it wasn't for HRM voting, she probably wouldn't even have a seat, because the rest of the provinces of Nova Scotia didn't even support her. So when she talks about Nova Scotians, I think maybe she's talking about HRM who backed her. So maybe, and I know coming on your show with her, she talks a lot, Dan, about everything is negative. Everything is negative. She's nothing is positive or could be positive in her view. I'm not just talking about the legislation sitting. I'm just talking about every time she comes on your show. So I just think, maybe that's not a good cause for her. Maybe she should start being a little bit more friendly to the premier, to the government in whole here, because she shoots down everything. And every time she's on your show, it's all about bad. That's just my point about her.
Sure.
And that's just how she comes across to me. As far as going for I'm just going to shoot all over the place here about the Yankees and the Blue Jays.
Yes, sir.
It's hard. It's hard because East Coast goes for Toronto, Blue Jays, or Boston usually. So
yeah, right.
I think we're on the fence here. I'm a Canadian and I'm going for the Blue Jays, but if they get beat out, I'm going for the Yankees. So I'll jump on the wagon.
Well, let's hope that they don't get beat out and they go all the way to the World Series. Then we won't have to worry about it, right?
Exactly. And one little note here for Bill. All the best.
Absolutely.
I hope we hear him on the radio soon. I really like hearing him when I'm sitting on my desk. He kind of makes my day with his little remarks. But as far as my last comment here about the HRM here, I just think, Dan, I just think we're going too fast. We're not paying attention, and I think we need to take some time here in our busy days to see what the hell's really going on around here, because HRM, and I've said it before, in my opinion, is a mess. I think it's a mess, meaning it's a mess me as a taxpayer. You got Halifax Water looking for increases. Well, put two and two together, obviously with all the development, it's costing them money, so they want us taxpayers to help them pay for it. That's you're building buildings and you got to hook up. That's your responsibility. I just think there's something more into that. As far as Nova Scotia Power, the same thing. This is very expensive to live here, Dan.
You're not kidding.
I watched a lady in front of me at the superstore yesterday with a small cart, pay almost $200 and walk out with 3 bags.
Yep.
They just, I watch a guy at the gas station put $5 in his car ahead of me because that's all he had, and hopefully made it home.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, so it's it's all over the place here. It's all over the map here. We're developing like crazy. Traffic's a mess. You can go on and on and on. And how do you fix it? I don't know, but we got to start paying attention, because this could turn into a disaster really fast around here, and it's blowing up really fast.
David, up against the break. Appreciate it, sir. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. As the immortal Cal used to say, if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. We're back after the news. All right, welcome back. This is the Fabulous Friday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show and the Friday Free-for-All. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let's go right to the phones and welcome Ifo to the program. Ifo, how are you?
I am fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm good. What's on your mind today?
All right. The main reason why I called in was to talk about the new law that the Nova Scotia government attempting to pass regarding so-called Crown land.
Okay.
And I find it ironic and sad that just after we acknowledged, we have Truth and Reconciliation, and when we have various levels of government acknowledging that they were on unceded Mi'kmaq territory, and then claiming that it's Crown land. So you cannot have it both ways. You cannot acknowledge that the land is not yours and then say it belongs to the King of England. That is that is nonsensical. I think it's very disrespectful for the government to fail to live up to their treaty obligations to the people whose land it is that they are illegally occupying. And when I think about it, it echoes what we see happening in Gaza, where a colonial government of Israel is illegally occupying Palestinian land.
I think there's a big difference between what's happening here and what's happening in Gaza.
No, I meant from a legal misunderstanding. The difference is, I'm saying the approach of where the colonial occupiers decide unilaterally on what they're going to do with someone else's land. And I think if we really want to honor the treaties, and if we really want to respect the fact that we say that we're trying to do reconciliation, which is also a misnomer, because reconciling means that you're actually in good relationships in the first place. It started with an invasion. But if we actually want to come back to a situation where the colonial government of Canada respects the people whose land it's illegally occupying, it will be to respect the two-row wampum. And if we do that, then we will not have governments making the mistake of claiming that they want to do stuff because it is Crown land. Because according to international law, none of that land belongs to Canada. So we should actually respect the treaties and not just use it as lip service and then go ahead and act as if the indigenous people's the land is not the indigenous people's land. So I look forward to when Canada will actually respect the treaties.
Ifo, appreciate the call.
Thank you.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Todd to the show. Todd, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. It's on your mind today.
I was just going to comment on the age limit for the hunting.
Yep.
And, I don't think I've heard anyone say it. It's just my concern would be that where it's at 12, you might get a 12-year-old that doesn't want to hunt, but the parent might be like, well, the government says that you can do it at 12 and sort of be forced into it almost.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Do you agree with having a 12-year-old with a firearm? That seems to be the bone of contention at this point.
I wouldn't see. I would think it's pretty safe with all the
right.
With what I've heard, but yeah, my concern is just that 12-year-old might not want to and then have to almost.
Fair enough, Todd. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Have a good one.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. It's tough, I would imagine, for a government to legislate against, and don't take this the wrong way, but forcing somebody to do something that they don't want to just because they meet an age requirement is bad parenting. I don't think it's bad legislation, but I do understand where Todd's coming from. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Brian to the program. Brian, how are you?
Hello, how are you? Good morning.
What's on your mind today, sir?
So I'm going to make a comment, and I was going to say you guys are actually incredibly good at this. News 95.7, you and Todd particularly. But the amount of people sometimes that call in with misinformation or just not knowing all the facts is mind-boggling sometimes. And it just sort of tells me the situation that our society is in and may explain a lot of our social problems. I don't really have an example offhand. Just you get a lot. You yourself know exactly what I'm talking about. When you get people who call in, will make some generalized comment about immigrants or foreigners, and that's just there's no convincing this individual otherwise. And that to me it's quite concerning to hear a lot of this coming from older generations.
Brian, it's Todd says it quite often, and it's something that kind of resonates. Todd says a lot of things that resonate with me, but this one kind of stuck in my mind. And his theory on it is that one person's truth is another person's fallacy, right? And if their mind's made up on something,
100%,
and they believe it's true, then there is no convincing, regardless of the amount of fact that you throw at. And we had a conversation earlier this week after that 60 Minutes interview with the governor of Utah, who said that the bipartisanship or the partisanship is dividing that country, and I think it is here. And I think that's kind of what's behind all of this is that I'm right and I'm not going to listen to you no matter what.
Exactly. It's just concerning for future generations.
Right.
There's a lot of people worried about what other people are doing instead of worrying about what they're doing. The hunting thing is a prime example. The government has legislated for 12-year-olds. No 12-year-old is going out into the woods by himself to hunt big game.
No, it's against the law.
That's just common.
That would break the law.
Common sense.
Yeah.
Exactly. But a lot of callers are like, well, I don't trust it. It's like, okay, they're still with an adult.
Right.
They're supervised. I'm going to be honest, I'm not into hunting, but I know a lot of hunters. And if any of their stories are true, they're probably not finding anything anyway.
Right. Brian,
one other thing before
sure.
I let you go, though, I think a little moment ago you mentioned all the previous hosts. I think you were just referring to the morning show, but you left out Tom Young.
Oh, absolutely, and you are correct. He wasn't actually physically in Halifax, but Tommy was in St. John.
And
he definitely was right at the beginning.
He was the main reason I started listening. So
there you go.
Have a good day. Thank you so much.
All right, appreciate it, Brian. 902-405-6000. My apologies to Tom Young. My goodness, he's looking down on me right now with that Tom Young look. And he certainly was on the air, just not in this chair. He was, of course, at our station. When we launched, we had 3 stations in the Maritimes. We had one here, one in Moncton and one in St. John, and Tom was based in the St. John station. So to correct the record, it was Andrew Crystal, Tom Young, and then it was Jordy Morgan, and then it was Rick Howe, and then it was Todd Veinotte. So that's how the whole thing rolled on. And let's not forget Sheldon McLeod as well. Sheldon had a show on the afternoon for some time here on the program. And he was here as well, so we don't want to leave anybody out. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome William to the program. William, how are you?
Oh, pretty good, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm okay. What's on your mind today?
I was encouraged that you were talking about the baseball earlier this morning.
Yep.
Sounded like you were excited about it.
Well, it's playoff baseball. It can't get more exciting.
Well, for a lot of us Blue Jay fans, the most important part of the schedule was this past weekend where we finally clinched on Sunday the first place in the division so that we would get the bye this week. And I tuned in on Saturday expecting to listen to it on the radio, and you guys didn't cover the game.
Because it was a hockey game.
You pipe in all this American football talk on the weekends. And again,
right, and William, I've explained this to you before, right? We have a contractual obligation to carry the Mooseheads game, so we're gonna honor that this during the playoffs, and we're gonna do both. But we're unable to do that during the regular season.
Oh, okay. So the Moosehead get precedent during the season?
Yeah, we have a contract with the Moose to provide all of their games, so we're doing that.
Right. Then the other thing is just that when your show ends now, sometimes they go to Rob Snow.
Yes.
In the past, it was sports commentary pumped in from somewhere else.
Toronto.
But, again, talking about all the political bias and all that last caller mentioned, I mean, that show is run by Tories, and it's all about conservative opinion, which your show is way more balanced than that. And so the Rob Snow show, maybe it's the same thing. You're obligated to play it.
Well, William, you can call him and raise that with him. Why don't you do that? Say that he's biased.
I mean,
I'm not going to defend what Rob says on here because he's not here to defend himself.
No. But I'm just saying, as a general observation, it seems pretty conservative. Most of the callers that call in are pretty much conservatives as well. But anyway, but glad that you're going to try to cover the baseball.
We're going to for the playoffs, William. We're going to carry the Jays games on the radio. Okay, so not on your computer, on the radio.
Yeah, no, I prefer to listen to it on the radio than watch it on TV, and that's why I was disappointed that on Saturday I had to watch it on TV. But
though for those that want the hockey game, we'll have the hockey game on our stream. So we're going to try and do the best of both worlds here.
Okay, I appreciate the effort.
All right, William, appreciate it.
Yeah.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The Friday free-for-all continues right after the break.
Facts.
Welcome back. This is the fabulous Friday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. The telephone number is 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. The beauty of the Friday free-for-all is you get to chat about whatever it is on your mind. And there are a couple of lines open. If you want to get on the air, here's a good opportunity to do so. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Before we go back to the phones, got an email. This comes to us from Gary. It reads, "Hey, Dan, heard the fellow call about 12-year-olds being too young to hunt." And he's got 3 points here. The first is he mentioned using a .303, but any responsible parent would introduce the 12-year-old to something like a .243 or a .30-30, which is a smaller caliber and a smaller kickback, I would say. He also says, does he realize that every other province plus the Yukon and Northwest Territories already allow 12-year-olds to hunt with supervision? I'm not sure if that's true. Haven't had a chance to look it up, but I'll take his word for it. Nova Scotia finally catching up. By the way, PEI doesn't have big game hunting. Any responsible guardian, he writes, wouldn't allow a rifle and a cell phone in the 12-year-old's hands. Thank you for that, Gary, and I will add this point that I will suggest that there are people out there that are over 18 years of age that are hunting by themselves that are have a cell phone in their hand. It's not just the 12-year-olds. We're talking about responsible people here, right? There's obviously dangers associated with any kind of use of firearms. I don't think I'm speaking out of school on that. And one would hope that in a situation like that, when somebody at the age of 12 or 13 or 14 years of age is in the woods, that a parent or a guardian would be responsible and would ensure that there was no distractions for that 12-year-old. That's just my opinion. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Wayne to the program. Wayne, how are you?
Good day, sir. How are you?
What's on your mind?
Believe it or not, I'm not sitting in my garage having a cigar. But
I was going to say, how's the cigar today?
Well, I was at a dog park and I had one there, even though you're not allowed to smoke them in the park. But I make sure there's no kids and no adults anywhere near me when I'm having one.
Fair enough. Stick to the garage.
That's
it's
just
safe.
me as a responsible person.
And and the garage, it's the safest place to smoke it is in the garage.
Right. The point I wanted to get across to you, Remembrance Day is rapidly coming up on us, and I was thinking it would be a great idea if your radio station had a guest on 7 days leading up to the November the 11th and talk about what does the Legion do for veterans, what do service officers do for Legion, what does Canada Connect do for Legion, what does the UN NATO Veterans Group do for Legions, what do Vets Canada do for Legions. I think it would be a great idea if you went to all these groups in the city and got a guest speaker to come on your show and explain what they do to help veterans.
That's a great idea, Wayne. We'll dig into it.
And the other thing I want to talk about is firearms.
Mm-hmm.
My first introductory to firearms was I was a Sea Cadet over in St. John's, Newfoundland, and they gave us a firearms safety course on the do's and don'ts.
Right.
And it stuck with me my whole life. And all through my military career, first thing you do when you pick up a weapon, you prove it's safe. You rack that weapon to make sure there's nothing in it.
Yep.
I think if you have guns in your home or you have a child that's interested in firearms, there should be a course for them to take for safety reasons, because when I was a kid, I walked into my bedroom and I caught my two little sisters putting my shotgun together. And I turned around and told them how dangerous it was. But then they also joined the cadets and they got the same training I got. And it's all about safety. And it's all about talking to people and getting people out. I think they should. Now, the hunting side of it, that's different. I think they should be allowed to trap or get involved in outside activities in the woods. And I'll guarantee you, most kids at the age of 12, once when they, decease an animal, most of them don't want anything to do with it after that anyway.
Lots of great points there, Wayne. Hey, Wayne, in the Sea Cadets, did you guys learn on the 303 with the 22 insert?
Yes.
Yes. So did I.
And it's a firearm. So
absolutely.
I cannot express it enough to say there should be safety courses out there for you, especially if you got guns in your home and you and your wife are gone out and the kids are left at home. Well, if they take a firearm out of the thing, there should be nothing in it in the first place.
Right.
But you know what kids are like? They're curious. They're interested. They get into things that they're not supposed to be into. And if you didn't teach them the difference between right and wrong and how to handle a firearm, there's going to be a problem.
Have a fantastic weekend, Wayne.
You too, sir. Cheers.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. It goes back to my point that I've been saying the last couple of days, right? That if you have, particularly if you have firearms in your house, or your kid has an interest in firearms, then take the course. They have to take the course, right, before they can go out into the woods and they learn responsible use of a firearm and how dangerous they are and how to be safe and safe storage and all of those things like that. And if they don't get that, then they're going to learn about firearms through other ways and that, video games and on television, which isn't proper use of a firearm at all, right? So that's kind of my point and Wayne's point on this. Last word today goes to Troy. Troy, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
Good. What's on your mind, sir?
So didn't catch the start of Wayne there, so I may be repeating them.
Sure.
But I'm just kind of confused what the provincial government's doing, passing laws about wearing uniforms or not. the Canadian Armed Forces works for the federal government.
They do.
It's cut and dry. Schools can't tell them they can't wear a uniform. Provincial government can't tell them they can. So, like, what's the government stepping outside their lines? Same as the city telling about the Dartmouth infill and that. It's not their jurisdiction, so stay out of the. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get it, Trey. But the gray area was when this happened last year. It was inside a school, and schools are provincially mandated, right? I think that's where this was born from.
Yeah, I get it, but it's kind of irrelevant to me. They work. You know what I mean? It's a federal entity.
I get it.
The government tells where the Canadian Forces goes and does and everything else. So it just doesn't make. It's just they got a lot of other things to do than worry about. You know what I mean? Like,
I get it. I do.
And setting precedents, like I said, same as city council saying about. Well, it's not their. You know what I mean? When
it's not their jurisdiction. I get it.
Outside of the bounds, their jurisdictions, then the people that don't know anything about the Canadian Forces, then they start. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden. Well, why doesn't the province use the Canadian Force? Because the province doesn't command the Canadian Armed Forces.
That is correct.
So that's my only point.
All right, Troy, have a good weekend, sir.
You as well, thanks.
Appreciate it, and appreciate everyone who picked up the phone, dialed the numbers, and joined the conversation. You make my day each and every day that you do it. Just a very quick reminder, we're going to do a special edition of the Todd Veinotte Show on Friday. We'll be live on location down at the Westin in the south end of Halifax to celebrate our 20th. Can you believe it? 20 years. We're going to celebrate 20 years with a special broadcast, lots of special guests, maybe even some surprises. There'll be coffee, there'll be cake. Hope you can come down there and join us and watch what's going on and meet Vanessa or meet me or meet the rest of the team here at the radio station. We'll all try to be down there. Obviously, we're busy, but we'll try and get down there and do it and help us celebrate 20 years of being on the air here in HRM and surrounding area. Going to stop, take a break. When we come back, I don't know if it was a bit of a shocker to you, but it kind of caught me off guard this week when we saw that the Fire Chief for Halifax, Fire Chief Steubing, was stepping down. A conversation with the president of the Halifax Professional Fire Fighters, Brendan Marr. When we return, you're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. Back in minutes.
Facts.
All right, welcome back. Hour 3 of the Fabulous Friday edition. Hope you're having a fantastic day. I was away when this news broke, and when I saw the release come from the city and from Halifax Fire, I was a bit surprised to read the news. This story from the CBC, the chief of Halifax Fire Department retiring from a career in public safety just 2 weeks after the union for most Halifax career firefighters called for him to resign. Chief Ken Steubing of HRFE is stepping down after 8 years in the role, according to a release from HRM. He began the job back in 2017. We're very pleased to welcome to the program today the president of the Halifax Professional Firefighters. That is Brendan Marr. Brendan, how are you?
I'm good, Dan. Thanks for having me on.
So I guess, were you surprised the way this rolled out, or did you have an idea that the chief was going to resign or retire? How did you react to the news?
I think that this is the first step. It's a bit of progress for the fire service, but there needs to be a deeper dive into the abilities and actions of a lot of the managers that the fire chief was responsible for. Our chief frustration with the fire chief was his inactivity when we brought forward issues about some of the managers. So the people we brought the issues to him about are still there. And, we think there's a lot of work left to be done in addressing issues with the fire service.
Brendan, for those that may not have been following this story, what were those issues that you brought to the chief?
Well, there were issues with proper use of resources to prepare us for wildfire season on time for this year, to implement recommendations of the post-incident analysis from the Hammonds Plains fire. There were issues with culture and management that have eroded recruitment from inside our union. And I'll correct what you said in the opening. I represent all of the professional firefighters that work for the city. We have approximately 130 career captains and platoon captains all of whom have a minimum of 10 years before they can qualify for these positions, and the most experienced people delivering our service in the province. And in our last recruitment for district chief, which is the entry level in management, 2 of 130 of our career officers applied to be entry-level managers. This is the most key role in our department for succession, for future leadership, for current leadership, and for competent and qualified fireground management. And I would think that if I was a city administrator and I see that only 2 of 130 applied, that is a collective condemnation of our senior leadership.
So do we need to clean house at Halifax Fire? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And I want to mention that we have some managers that do good work. And I know that our campaign has had an adverse effect on them. Their families are getting questions, and I just want people to know that there are many good district chiefs and even a good assistant chief or 2 in there that are absolutely coming to work, treating people respectfully and doing their jobs well. But systemically, these people are the exception and not the rule.
They say the HRM said in the release that there is going to be an extensive search for a new chief. Have they, or will they, do you think, include your members and you in that search?
Well, I'm certainly that's not a role that I'm interested in. I'm not looking for that role. I know that they will entertain applications from Halifax, and we have to get to a place where we can recruit and develop members internally. And, in the last number of years, under Chief Steubing's tenure as chief, I won't, call it leadership, but we've seen interest in these positions dwindle. He's brought in some people from out of province that he had previous relationships with. And there's some questions around how they got here, their capabilities, and we want answers to those questions. We want to know, how some of these people came to be in the place they're in, and it's really been damaging internally. And these are not issues that we've just addressed over the last couple of weeks. We've been raising these concerns for years, and we decided that we needed the public to be aware of the growing crisis within HRFE.
Brendan, you mentioned a lack of interest in people kind of pursuing their careers up the ladder, so to speak. That was full pun intended, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. That being said, with a lack of interest in that, is it going to be difficult to fill those bigger ranks and to get a homegrown fire chief this time around because of a lack of interest in it?
I haven't been consulted on the search. If I were consulted on the search, I would start my search for people that have left and people that left maybe before they should have. We had a number of people retire early, and we had people that worked full careers that had the capabilities and the aptitude to do this job. I think we have some talent that knows our service, our city, and our systems. And that could be unveiled if the search was aimed properly. I realize that because the union president recommends a candidate for the position, that it may not necessarily be helpful to somebody who is interested in it. But I'm also still doing frontline service delivery. I still fight fires with the people I represent, and we need a leader in there that values our city and our people, that brings people together, mentors our people, and recognizes the qualities of leadership in other people. And we need to get back to that. And I think that there's some talent that's out there and available, and I hope that they're considered.
Brendan, you mentioned that this has been impacting recruitment efforts. What are the lines? Are your ranks getting thin?
Well, whenever we hire firefighters off the street, we don't have any trouble recruiting firefighters. There's always a demand for that, but we've had issues of culture in some of our other divisions, such as training and prevention, that have impacted recruitment, which is internal recruitment of people with prerequisites and qualifications. And the most important, I think, and impactful issue with recruitment and retention is the district chief's role. Like I said, we had 2 of 130 career captains apply. That should be a position that 25 or 30 of our most experienced apply. We were fortunate to get 2 very, very respected, capable captains that moved forward and took those district chiefs' job, and I'm really optimistic about the service and leadership they're going to provide. It could be a pivoting point right now if we get some leadership in place that will mentor and foster and make these district chiefs' jobs more meaningful and attractive to our members.
As I understand it, Deputy Chief Dave Melder will be taking over from Chief Steubing when he leaves. Is he open to discussions with your group?
Well, we've been very frustrated with Deputy Meldrum. We feel Chief Steubing has been largely absent for the last few years, and a lot of the decisions and behaviors that have not been checked have been under the watch of Deputy Meldrum. We filed an unfair labor practice against him this week with the Department of Labor, Skills and Immigration. We're really skeptical about him taking over, and very eloquent, soft-spoken person. He presents as very dignified, but we're not satisfied with the core and the substance of some of the leadership or management, I'll say, that he's brought forward.
Any indication how long this search is going to take?
I don't know. But I hope they get it right, and I hope they keep looking inside before, I hope they don't just stop with the chief is gone. Because the chief is gone does not mean the problems are gone, and there needs to be a deeper dive.
Well, Brendan, we'll leave it there. I know you're busy. Appreciate your time.
I appreciate your time. Thank you for the interest.
That is Brendan Marr. He is, of course, from the union that represents firefighters here in HRM, as work now begins to replace Ken Steubing, who announced his retirement earlier this week. And as I mentioned, in his stead, Deputy Chief Dave Meldrum will be the acting chief until a replacement is found. Time to stop, take another break here on the program. When we return, we're going to get an update on what's going on with Canada Post with CUPW negotiator Jim Gallant. When we return, you're listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. Welcome back. It is the fabulous Friday edition of the program. Don't forget, we'll do our regular Friday routine coming up after the news. Allister will be here to give us the very latest. I was just overlooking his shoulder, and he doesn't like when I do that. And he's poring over the map, so he'll get the very latest on the weather for the weekend from our weather specialist, Allister Aalders, coming up right after the news at 12:30. And then, of course, Cecil will be here as well, who will be licking some wounds, I think, after his Red Sox were eliminated from the postseason last night by the New York Yankees. The Yankees, of course, will be facing the beloved Toronto Blue Jays in the ALDS, and that's going to begin tomorrow at 5 o'clock. I make sure you are by your radio. You can listen to that right here on 95.7 News Radio. Well, we, of course, know that the strike continues at Canada Post. And with all of the things going on in the world, wanted to give everybody an update on sort of what's happening here, particularly at a local level. Very pleased to welcome to the program CUPW negotiator. That's Jim Gallant. Jim, how are you?
Oh, it's one of those days.
Aren't they always one of those days?
No, we just met with the employer and received new offers, and I can't go into them in detail because we need to tell the membership before we're on the radio with them. But I can tell you that we're not pleased, and we're not quite sure why Canada Post took a couple of months to come back with offers. We gave them an offer back in August, and they said they were working to get to an offer. Well, the first page of their offer says everything other than in this block is the same as our May 28th offer. So they're really not interested in bargaining. the May 28th offer was rejected by 70% of both bargaining units.
Right.
And we find ourselves basically in the same spot, only worse at this point. And like I say, I can't go into detail on the offer itself.
And I appreciate that, Jim, and I appreciate you sharing with us what you could on that. Is that offer what is at stake here, or was it the changes that the government announced last week, or is it a combination of both?
Well, there's no doubt that they're emboldened and enlightened by Minister Lightbound's announcements, and that they're gonna lean on that to try and get major concessions from the union.
Jim, what's at stake here? Are the services going to remain shut down until there's a resolution? And of course, people are talking about Christmas already.
Yeah. What's at stake? What's at stake immediately is that we are on strike. There's no doubt. But what Canadians need to know and Haligonians need to know, we saw a big change in 2013 when we went to community mailboxes, except for on the peninsula. All of Dartmouth, Lower Sackville, Bedford, from Spryfield to Clayton Park. Everybody went to community mailboxes, and the service has suffered. You don't get a parcel to your door most of the time. It's down the street, it's around the corner. But everybody else that delivers mail, delivers parcels, I should say, everybody else that delivers it brings it right to your door, knocks on your door. You know, there's the few companies that'll throw it on your front lawn. No, most of us aren't into that, but Canadians and Haligonians need to know if they do not fight for that service, it's going to go away. The Canada Post wants to manage this thing into the ground, and we need to stop it. And if that service isn't there, and Canada Post, you hear all the small businesses and medium-sized businesses that say that Canada Post is the best deal in town, like the price is lower, there will be nothing stopping those other carriers from driving the price up.
Do we still do a lot of home delivery here in HRM, or as you mentioned, have we moved more to these super boxes?
Well, all the peninsula is still door-to-door delivery,
right.
And Canada Post, when they say, a quarter of people get door-to-door delivery, well, you know, I can look at Almond Street where the plant is, and if you see all those cranes there. There used to be a couple of houses across the street, right, where there was 2 points of call. They removed those points of call, and now there's a big apartment building on the corner of Roby and Almond. Well, all those points of call, they say that's not to the door. It's in their lobby. They don't have to go outside and get wet. They don't have to go out in the cold. They don't have to do those things. So if you're a senior or somebody with mobility issues and you live there, that's to your door basically. But they say, we have all these new points of call. That's the sort of stuff that's going on, and they use these things to their advantage. But for the most part, it's BS.
We know that part-time hours has been a contentious issue. Is that still a sticking point?
Oh yeah, they're looking for part-timers. They want part-timers everywhere. They've added more part-time onto their wish list today. We'll get those numbers out and information out soon.
Jim, what's morale like on the strike line? We know strikes are never easy.
I was told this morning that there's more people on the picket line now than there was in November and December. So people are showing up. Obviously, we had a long weekend last weekend. Lines were thin on the long weekend, but people are showing up, and we've been going to MPs' offices. So if you don't see us on the street on Almond Street, we've been at every MP's office. We've been Purolator is owned by Canada Post. 91% of Purolator is owned by Canada Post. We've been picketing Purolator locations across the country. There's people everywhere.
Some, Jim, are suggesting that this strike could be the end of Canada Post. Do you agree with them?
I think that if management had their way, this would be the end of Canada Post. I think that they'd rather billionaires like Jeff Bezos deliver all the parcels in the world, pay people pennies an hour, and all would be good in the world for these people. The people at the top of Canada Post have been there for less than a decade. Some of them less than since the pandemic. If you go look online, they came from businesses that weren't unionized. They came from businesses is the biggest problem. They didn't come from not for profit. Canada Post is supposed to be a service. We're supposed to be self-sustainable. That doesn't mean you make money every year. They came in and they spent all the money that was in the cupboard. It equaled out to about $4 or $5 billion that was sitting there. They talked about it being, infrastructure renewal, strategic spending, and now because the cupboard is empty and they spent the money, they're saying that it's catastrophic loss. It's spin doctor stuff, and all they do is come on and they'll say 25 buzzwords on your show, and I have 7 minutes to debunk 2 or 3 of them. That gets to be the problem.
Jim, any concern from your membership or from you that the federal government's going to intervene in this and order you all back to work?
Always. Why wouldn't they? They ordered us back to work in December. They ordered an industrial commission that they paid for, got the answers that they wanted. The industrial commission followed all the Canada Post wish list. Then they order a vote of their final offer collective agreement. It doesn't go the way they want. They leave us out. Nobody's doing anything for months. And the minister has said this week that as soon as Canada Post gives us the offer, we need to move quickly. They're not moving quickly, so why are we moving quickly all of a sudden? So I don't doubt that she does something. She's pulled every lever in their direction since last year.
And that she being Patty Hajdu.
Patty Hajdu, yeah. She used 107, 108, 108 again. She uses whatever. So we're not got our heads in the sand. She might try to order us back to work. I don't know. They won't even have. I heard that the Bloc Québécois and NDP tried to have an emergency discussion in Parliament, and the Speaker of the House refused. So they don't want to hear from Canadians. They've said out loud that they're going to come up with a plan and tell Canadians. So it is Canadians that should get to decide what the service is and how that service is provided. And that's what we wanted. And there was supposed to be a mandate review starting October 1st. And instead, we had a minister's announcement on September 28th.
Jim, I know it's early days. You just got that offer. Does that go to the members now, or what's the next steps here?
The members refused an offer on August the 1st. The vote was from the middle of July until August the 1st.
Yeah.
And so far, and like I say, there's a couple of changes in it, but so far it looks like that offer. They actually say everything in this offer that's not that's not written down on this page is the same as the one we offered you back then. So people have voted.
Jim, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy, and keep us in the loop, okay?
All right. Thanks very much.
That is Jim Gallant, CUPW negotiator here in HRM. Going to stop, take a break. On the other side of it, we're going to run down the weather for you. Our good friend and weather specialist, soon-to-be meteorologist, Allister Aalders will be joining us right after the break. All right, welcome back. The fabulous Friday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. The finish line's right there. I can see it. We're almost there into another weekend. And, of course, to set up our weekend is our good friend and weather specialist. That is Allister Aalders. Allister, another sunny and above seasonal weekend.
Hard to believe, eh? I mean, it's another beautiful day and a beautiful weekend ahead, which... You know, it's tough because it's really nice weather to enjoy, all of the fall things around us, which, we're starting to see all the colors starting to change a bit early. But obviously we just really like a bit of rain, and unfortunately, next best chances. The timing's moved up a bit since, when I was on the air this morning, I was thinking more, maybe late Wednesday night into Thursday, but some of the guidance now showing perhaps it coming in during the day, Wednesday, or at least later in the day through Wednesday night. And even then, I mean, it'll be likely widespread rain or showers, but this is along a cold frontal boundary. We're looking for these more defined areas of low pressure that, I mean, okay, so we do want them to be well developed. I know not a lot of us probably don't want the wind,
right?
Especially, if you're looking to see the fall colors, you don't want to blow all the leaves off the trees, but we're really looking for those more defined areas of low pressure that are coming up the eastern seaboard or traveling in from the Great Lakes, and we're really just still not getting them because high pressure is firmly in place, blocking any systems from coming in. So this front will bring some beneficial rain and showers, but it'll be fairly fast moving and not the, these widespread defined lows we need, which hopefully they will come sooner than later. But as we've been talking about, for the first half of this month, it still looks like high pressure is the ultimate winner. Hopefully during the second half of the month, that will change, but not seeing any concrete signals right now.
Any idea? I know it's early, but any idea what kind of rainfall amount we're looking at?
Yeah, the models have been shifting back and forth. Earlier in the week, it was looking like maybe in excess of 20 or 30 millimeters. Some of the models today have the front faster, and the rain, while widespread along that front, not as widespread in terms of, say, width, more, along the vertical axis of the cold front. So some showing, perhaps in excess of 10 or 15 millimeters. I think we'll really start to see that narrow down as we get closer to, because obviously a lot of the precipitation along cold fronts is convective, just how the air is rising over that front. And while some weather models are good at predicting that convection, you really need some of those shorter term convective allowing models to really get a better sense of just how that convection will be happening. So we'll get a better sense of that, early in the week, but just still quite a bit of uncertainty right now. But I mean, it could be beneficial, but certainly not as much as we need. We are needing longer lasting rain events of upwards of, 30, 40, 50 plus millimeters. I know that gets us into a whole other set of issues in terms of how dry the ground is and not being able to absorb into it. But it's just not in the cards right now. And this is what we were dealing with last October too, if you can recall. This is when kind of, I would say, the drought really started to kick into high gear after, the summer ended up a bit dry, but it wasn't nearly as dry as this summer. Through the fall, we had a really dry fall with a lack of fall storms that put us into a drought, and it did resolve itself a bit into the winter. But I think this is, the problems we're facing now, we can somewhat attribute back to that last fall, just because, we were in such a deficit then, and we barely made up for it in the winter and in the spring.
What are we looking at temperature-wise? I hear high teens and low 20s.
Much warmer than normal. We're at the time of year where the daytime average high is falling each week. So it's, generally 13 to 15, 16 degrees. Here in Halifax, it's about 15, 16. And we're looking at highs, the guaranteed high today, 18, 19 degrees. And then we're into the low 20s tomorrow. A bit cooler by Sunday, but we're talking about, low and even mid 20s on Monday and really low 20s for the first half of the week. So much warmer than average. That cold front bringing in the rain, likely around mid next week, will bring temperatures back down closer to where they should be, or even a bit cooler than we should be for this time of year. But the position of this high is obviously still tapping into some of that late season heat in over the continent and parts of the eastern and southern states, and obviously over the Atlantic too, because the oceans are still warm. And it's very pleasant. It's hard not to want to get out and enjoy it, although I know, talking from some people, they'd much rather have just the fall temperatures settling in and then what would be more almost like late summer, early fall like.
Overnight lows are dropping too, because we did have a frost advisory.
We did have a frost advisory. Temperatures were variable around HRM overnight. Some did get down to close to freezing. I know at my house, just on the outskirts of HRM, it was down near 2 degrees. So it was chilly overnight, but it really depends on where you are. It's those lower lying locations that really can cool down at night. And then, typically in the city, it's still pretty warm. And then especially along the coast where you're getting more of that ocean influence, it's still getting a bit warmer during the overnights. But, certainly we've had a few nights this week that have been cooler, but our average overnight lows are through this period are going to be warmer than normal. We're looking at really no frost risk during the weekend and into next week either, with these warmer daytime highs too.
We know Allister gets up early in the morning, and the very first thing he does is he flips on the charts to see what's going on. And the very first thing that I do in the morning is check the hurricane tracks to see what's happening out there. And I was very pleasantly surprised today when I looked at them, there was nothing there.
It was an interesting few days watching the tropics with Umberto and Imelda, which, ultimately stayed well offshore. There was concern that maybe it would come ashore in the southeastern United States, and thankfully that did not happen. But it was just so fascinating seeing the two so close together but still independent, and then doing that Fujiwara effect that we talked about, where Imelda actually then absorbed Umberto and created a somewhat larger system. And I talked about this with Lisa last week, that it doesn't create, say, a superstorm or a monster storm, but it does increase the size. It's just fascinating to see that happen, especially as someone who loves the weather. You don't get to see that every day, especially with hurricanes. But yes, it's fairly quiet on the map. We're not out of the woods, because October can still be a busy month, especially we start to see more activity in parts of the Gulf of Mexico, and sometimes from these cold fronts along the southeastern United States, they can spawn up some tropical systems. So we need to keep an eye, on the National Hurricane Center map today. There is a zone that they are monitoring in the Atlantic, giving it about a 40% chance over the next 7 days. There's a small system near Florida, very low chance of developing into anything. So, thankfully it hasn't been bad at this point. We've had certainly some major systems that have developed out there. Shouldn't let our guard down. We certainly should just continue to keep an eye on it, and hopefully we will avoid any tropical systems, which I know a lot of people would like, at least, I guess, the remnants.
The rain side of it. Don't want the wind.
No, we don't want the wind or the storm surge. And unfortunately, it's pretty hard to get the rain without the wind or the surge with a fully defined tropical system. So, if we could get maybe some remnant systems, where they've dissipated, but, there's still quite a bit of rain in it, that would help. But there's challenges in that too. It's hard to find
I don't think we want to have a remnant, because the ground's so hard that it just runs right off, right?
That's the thing.
And we create flooding that
the
way.
the rainfall rates are so high that we would see a lot of runoff. So it's hard to find that balance, because we're kind of at a point where it's like we'll take any rain we can get, but that rain could also run off or not be as beneficial as we'd like it to be. So all clear in the tropics for now, and of course continue to keep an eye on it.
Only got about a minute left. Allister smelt wood smoke this morning when I got up. That's coming in from Kings County.
Yes, we've seen, of course, with that fire, the winds have been really impacting its behavior, and especially at nighttime, the winds have not been subsiding a whole lot. So we're seeing that smoke getting drifted around, and the winds have been changing direction over the last few days. It was more northerly yesterday and the day before, but today we're seeing a shift more of west-southwest. So that's blowing the smoke eastward, so into parts of, other parts of Kings, Hants, and even parts of Metro. That will be the case likely, depending on fire behavior, obviously, this weekend with more of a northwesterly flow that could blow some of the haze in our direction, but really truly depends on how much smoke that is giving out. But certainly air quality could be impacted as a result of that fire over the coming days.
You hear his forecast in the morning and in the afternoons, 5 days a week right here on 95.7 News Radio. Allister, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Have a fantastic weekend.
And
we're going to take a break. When we come back, Cecil, his Red Sox lost. We'll see what he has to think about the American League Division Series with the Yankees and the Blue Jays when we come back.
Facts.
All right, welcome back. The Friday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show taking flight. And who is not taking flight are the Boston Red Sox after last night losing their wild card series to the New York Yankees 4-0. And I know that somebody that was watching that wasn't very happy with that result, and that is Cecil Wright, who joins me on the phone. Cecil, how are you?
None of your business.
I thought about you all night, Cecil. I really did.
Yeah. Well, I give Cam Schlittler a lot of credit, man. The kid threw a beautiful ball game. And, the Yankees are going to be tough to beat with their starting pitching.
That's just it. And the Blue Jays' suspect bullpen, right?
That's right. But I got to say that both pitching staffs did a decent job, though. There wasn't like a whole lot of home runs and hard hit balls and all that. It came down to who made the fewest mistakes.
So now the series shifts to Toronto. We see the Yankees come in tomorrow night to face the Jays in the division series. Cecil, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who wins the series?
I'd like to say the Blue Jays. I really would, but when you beat the Red Sox, your arch rivals, going into the next series, you'd think that you'd be riding on a pretty high emotion. So I'm gonna go with the Yankees. I hope it's a 7-game series. Does this go 7 or is it 5?
I think these are 5s. These ones, I think.
Best out of 5.
Yep.
Hopefully it'll go 5, and we'll have a winner-take-all game.
I was hoping that the Yankees would go deeper into their bullpen last night, but he pitched he pitched 8 innings last night, right? So
8 innings. I think he had 12 strikeouts. He was fabulous.
So it didn't really help the Jays' cause that much. I was hoping for some tired arms coming in. So I guess Saturday night will be interesting to watch. And of course, I'm going to say the Jays are going to win because they're my team, right?
Are you sure?
Absolutely, my team.
Well, good luck to you. I wish you good luck. And good luck to the Yankees, too. Now, I don't say that very often.
No kidding. That must be tough for you to say.
Well, after all these years, where especially since we won the 4 World Series since 2004 and nobody else has won nothing. I'm cool.
I get it. Cecil, NFL, any surprises for you so far this year? Lots of injuries. Holy smokes.
Yeah, and a big surprise to me is, like, last night, San Francisco beat the Rams with Mac Jones as a quarterback. Now, we threw him away when he was at New England. The guy throws for over 300 yards. Come on, what's going on
He's
here?
had a couple of good games so far this year.
He has, and if I was them, I'd just leave him there until he, starts to screw up or Brock Purdy is healthy.
Yeah, well, they just gave Brock Purdy that big contract, so, money talks.
He'll be getting the job back at some point.
For sure. And speaking of big money, NHL signing this week, Kirill Kaprizov signing a record-setting deal. What's your thoughts on that?
Crazy, man, crazy. I mean, he's a good player and all that. I'm not going to take it from him, but that's ridiculous money. I'm sorry. Ridiculous money. What's it, $136 million or something like that?
Yeah, it's crazy. And the question that is what, like, McDavid hasn't signed yet. So he's going to sign for more than that, right?
Yeah, he'll be looking at 150 minimum.
It's salaries are getting. I mean, and it's not just hockey. It's in sports in general. It's getting to be ridiculous.
Ever since I remember when, and you probably weren't even born then, but Reggie Jackson signed for $1 million a year, and everybody was freaking out then, saying that the cost of paying these players was getting too high. That was only $1 million a year, and now look at it,
Mr. October.
Yeah, that's him.
Cecil, what's going on locally?
Listen, man, Game 7 tonight in the Nova Scotia Senior Baseball League. Halifax at Kentville, 7:05. It'll be broadcast on Eastlink. Last opportunity to see the best ball in Nova Scotia. The winner will represent the province next year at the Nationals in Chatham, New Brunswick.
Cecil, as always, I appreciate your time, sir. Have a fantastic weekend.
Go Blue Jays, Yankees.
Thanks, Cecil. That's Cecil Wright, our sports guru. It's when your team gets knocked out in a playoff round, it's tough, right? It's tough to say, okay, well, I'm a Red Sox fan, but now I'm going to go for the anyway. It's going to be a fun series, and very quickly before we welcome Clinton Wilkins into the show, you will catch all of that action right here on 95.7 News Radio. It is October. It is a Mortgage 101 weekend, and it's a special edition for this month, and we're very pleased to welcome the man behind Mortgage 101, and that is Clinton Wilkins. Clinton, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing, Dan? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. It is a Mortgage 101 weekend, but you're doing something a little bit different this month.
We are definitely doing something different, and you missed out this time. You were going to fill in, but just schedules didn't allow. So we have a very special show, and we did the best of 2025. So for our listeners, you're going to hear me on there. You're going to hear Todd and a bunch of our amazing guests that we've had all year long. So it's a very special show, and I get to go in the studio on Monday and voice a whole bunch of stuff for the show. So I think it's really great, and I really encourage everybody to listen in.
Clinton, it's been a year, and in your promo you say it's been a year of ups and downs, and I think that's probably the best descriptor I've heard of it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's been ups and downs, and the uncertainty is higher than ever. When we're talking about things like tariffs, we've made it through a federal election. We've started to see the Bank of Canada start reducing the key overnight rate. And just the uncertainty, I think, overall, from inflation to the job market to what's going on in the U.S., obviously is having a big impact on people here at home in Halifax, across Atlantic, and across the country. So we certainly touch on that all through the show. And, I think there still is a lot of optimism despite some of the challenges that we've had this year.
And the dream of home ownership is still well in the bound in HRM, is it not?
Mm-hmm. Is it ever? We have a very interesting market here in Halifax. It's been very strong compared to other areas of the country. I can tell you in Toronto and in Southern Ontario and the condo market in Ontario in general has been 25% off. We've not seen that here in Halifax. Our market is still growing, and we're seeing price growth in the range of about 3%. Now, our market here is what we would consider more balanced. It's, and I think that's good for sellers and it's good for buyers. At one time, it was really, really a seller's market where we were seeing 10, 20 plus offers on properties going for significantly over the listing price and potentially over what, maybe the market value was. That has become more balanced. Certainly more inventory is on the market. And, homes are sitting a little bit longer. So I think, we're getting into a better place that buyers can actually get an accepted offer. And, I think things are becoming more fair. And I think transactions are moving more smoothly now.
Clinton, last time you and I spoke, it was in the heels of Bank of Canada lowering interest rates a bit. You have predicted that that's the first of a couple of these reductions in the interest rates. You still sticking to that?
I'm still sticking to it 100%. We had a 25 basis point rate cut here just last month, and I'm projecting by the first of next year we're going to see rates being 50 basis points less than what we're seeing right now. So certainly a great time to be in a variable rate mortgage product, and I'm sure homeowners that have their mortgages coming up for renewal or are looking to do a transaction certainly can be very optimistic. People ask me, when is the right time to transact? The right time is really the right time for you. The rates are going to go up and down. They're going to change, and they're going to keep on changing, but certainly some optimism for some lower rates here in the future.
Clinton, how's the market? How's the housing market? We were starting to see more, at least more rent signs out there. Are there more for sale signs out there too?
There's definitely more for sale signs. I think there's definitely more for rent signs. We have a lot of new construction coming online, which is really needed here in Halifax. We had such a high demand for housing and such a lack of supply that it really drove that price up. Now it's certainly becoming more balanced. I think we're going to see a lot of real estate transactions going into the fall. I think there was some pent-up demand. People were sitting on the sidelines waiting to do real estate transactions. And now that there's more inventory, we're certainly seeing more transactions happening. I can tell you, Dan, the real estate that is the hottest is in that $600,000 price point. So at $600,000 and under, certainly very hot. And I think that the real estate over and above that $750,000, $800,000, that's what's taking a little bit longer and sitting on the market longer than what's sitting on the market, even last year or a couple of years ago.
Mortgage 101 goes Saturday and Sunday at 11 o'clock, and we're having a special broadcast next Friday.
Special.
And Clinton is going to be down there as well. So if you want to say hi to Clinton Wilkins, then by all means stop by. And we're looking forward to celebrating our birthday with you, Clinton.
I'm looking to celebrate, with you guys as well. 20 years is really an amazing achievement, and I'm happy to be a part of that journey. I'm happy to be here on the air with our listeners, and I'm going to be down there at the West End, and I can't wait to see everyone.
All right, I know you're traveling, and I know you're busy, and I appreciate you spending a couple minutes with us today, Clinton.
Thanks for having me, Dan. We'll chat with you soon, and have a great weekend, and I hope everyone can tune into the show.
And that show will go at Saturday and Sunday at 11 o'clock right here on the radio station, and, of course, you can pick it up on the podcast as well. That's going to do it for this week. My thanks to Vanessa Vandenez behind the glass, doing what she does every day, keeping things moving forward. Not an easy job, I can tell you that much. Thank you to all of our guests that joined us and shared their knowledge. Thank you to all of you who dial the numbers and join the program. You make my day when you do it. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Be well, and remember, be kind to one another.